I cannot believe we're already in July. I also was not sure if I was going to do this video this year because I have been reading significantly less than years in the past. I have read in the first 6 months of this year 16 books. In January I read 1 book. February I read 5 books. That was the most I've read in a single month this year. March I read 2 books. April I read 3 books. May I read 3 books, and June I read 2 books. I think on average I usually in years past have read between like 3 to 4 books a month, and then on the high end I think I've only read like 8 books max in 1 month. I just am not that fast of a reader and I'm so busy. I think like one of the main things is that I moved in with my boyfriend, and I'm not gonna say that he's the reason I'm not reading as much. I just think we do so much stuff together. I've really been prioritizing spending time like watching TV shows together at the end of the night or during the day or whatever, going out on a walk with him or spending time with my cats, just trying to be more present. And I think a lot of the time when I'm reading, I'm kind of in my own world, and that was so much easier to do at my parents' house when it was kind of just me. That's why I've read 16 books this year. It's still incredible. I should be proud of like the fact that I've read any books at all. Now, I wanted to talk about my 26 books for 2026. I have read 8.6% of that list, and I did count a DNF, I'm pretty sure. So that translates to 3 out of 26 books. Not great. I think the main issue with that list is that I threw it together at random. I kind of didn't think on it too hard. I was just like, I'm gonna read this year. I'm gonna read this year. A lot of books that I maybe wouldn't, I don't even really care about now. I'm like, I don't need to read that this year. I don't need to read it at all. Or there's books on there that I'm like, I'm not ready to read that right now, but I want to at some point in my life. So there's that. I also wanted to look at how many books I'm reading from my physical TBR, and then how many I'm reading from Kindle Unlimited or the library or whatever. I'll probably create a little graphic for you. From my physical TBR, this is the saddest part to me, is that out of the 16 books that I've read this year, I've only read 2 books from my physical TBR. I think I need to be reading way more than that, because I've definitely accumulated more than 2 books this year. From the library, I read, does that say 10? I read 10 books from the library, you guys. That means those 10 books I didn't have to buy, which is incredible. I think it's amazing to support our local libraries, and yeah, no shame in that. From Kindle Unlimited, I want to preface also that I canceled my Kindle Unlimited subscription, but I read 4 books from Kindle Unlimited. I think most of those were like Harry Potter and then maybe some other, I can't remember what exactly. And then I read 1 book from NetGalley. Another thing I looked at was like how many books I read physically, how many ebooks I read, and then how many audio. From June, I didn't do any audio. So, and actually from physical and ebook, it was split down the middle. So I read 8 physical books and 8 ebooks. My reading goal this year was 26 books. I never put my reading goal to like how many I subconsciously want to read. I do something a little bit more realistic to give myself a little wiggle room, and also just like years like this year where I'm not reading as much. It's like I want to be able to feel good about my reading. I don't ever want it to be like a challenge or pressure to just read as many books as I can. I want like quality over quantity for sure. The last section of the stats is genre. Out of the 16 books I read, here's another image. I read 4 fantasy, 5 horror, 2 romance, 1 sci-fi, 1 historical, 2 general fiction, and 1 graphic novel. That's a good variety. My highest were fantasy and horror. I feel like horror definitely makes sense. Fantasy, I read more fantasy some years than others, and then I actually think the general fiction is lower than usual. I honestly don't know. There you have it. I read the most horror, and that's, I would say, one of my favorite genres. I think my second favorite genre would maybe be just general fiction or like weird girl fiction. I like weird girl fiction that's also horror though. Oh, okay. The last thing I had on here actually was to count every single book on my TBR to give you guys a number. I know I made a video kind of towards the beginning of the year of like my entire physical TBR, but I actually wanted to just recount because I have hauled a lot of books since then.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46.
Uh-oh. I actually had no idea I was getting upwards of 50 books. I really want to start a TBR takedown type series on this channel. Yeah, I'm a little ashamed about that. Now we can get into the questions. I'm so excited. First question is, best book you have read so far this year? I didn't want to repeat any answers, so this one was kind of tricky, but I landed on We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kluwer. I thought this horror was very unique. I've not read anything like it before. I was very impressed by the writing style. I was very thrilled by it. Definitely creeped out. Overall, this book had everything I wanted in a horror book. Basically, you follow this couple who moves into this like very old house, and one day a family comes and knocks on their door, and the man, like the father, says, I used to live here, can we come and tour your house? I want to show my kids around my childhood home. And she ends up saying yes, and things just really go wrong from there. After I finished reading this, I went on Reddit and just wanted to hear everyone's thoughts and opinions on the way the book ended. I thought it was genius. I think this is one I definitely would read again to like pick up on all of the little things that kind of wrapped up towards the end that you're like, so many pieces click together. I just think that Marcus Kluwer did everything right with this book, and I cannot wait to read his newest novel. Question number 2 is the best sequel you've read this year. I ended up landing on Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh as my best sequel of the year. Within the Boys of Torment series, you're following like 4 different couples that are all part of the same friend group. The first 2 books follow Shannon and Johnny. The second 2 books follow Shannon's brother Joey and his girlfriend Aoife, and their story really resonated with me in a lot of ways. I've talked about it before, so I'll keep it very brief, but there's just a lot of life that these 2 young people have lived, and it's really triggering and traumatic, and I connected with a lot of parts of their stories. I kind of have just wished that the series would have ended after the first 4 books, and I know that's maybe an unpopular opinion, but I'm just not really caring about the following characters. I don't know. I think it could have ended there, but I know a lot of people wanted each couple to have their own books, so I get that, but I can't not finish the series, you know what I mean? I'm so far into it now. Okay, question number 3 is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. I need to read Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke so bad. I cannot believe how many rave reviews there are for this book. There's so many freaking people giving this a 5 stars. From what I know, it follows like a trad mom influencer who feels like she has all of her shit figured out, and then you find out that she's kind of not as perfect as she seems. She gets transported back in time and has to really fend for herself. I think it'll be interesting, and I can't wait to see what I think of this one. Question number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I knew exactly what I was gonna put for this book, and that is none other than The Knave and the Moon by Rachel Gillig. I read The Night and the Moth last year, and I fell in love with Rachel Gillig. Her writing, her storytelling. I have not read her Shepherd King duology. Oh shit, I think my phone is gonna die. Hold on. That is absolutely my bad, you guys. I forgot my phone was like low battery and it was at 1%. So I was very impressed by Rachel Gillig and the story and the characters. And I cannot wait to reread this. I think the next book comes out in September. I will be going to buy it immediately because I want it to match my special edition. And I also can't wait to read her other series, but I think I might like try to finish this one first. Question number 5 is biggest disappointment. This one was another easy one, kind of. I've had a couple books that I was like slightly disappointed by or just not as impressed by as I thought I was gonna be. But my biggest disappointment of the year is Mocha by Monica Kim. I've talked about it on this channel before, but The Eyes Are the Best Part is one of my favorite horror books and my favorite books in general. I thought this book was like exactly my taste, enthralling. I just loved every bit of it. Also, the cover is fantastic. And I had the absolute highest hopes possible for Mocha. I just wanted so badly for this author to be like one of my all-time favorite horror authors, and I can't say that that is the case. A lot of that book fell really flat. I was not impressed. I think she wrote a horror book to write a horror book and to have another book out there. And that's kind of a bummer. That's the hard thing about like new authors, is that I think a lot of the time they just want to put things out to get like more traction and whatever. Molka is the Korean term for spy cameras secretly and illegally installed, often to capture voyeuristic images and videos. So you're following a main character who is pretty much exposed to Molka or these spy cams. Definitely liked aspects of this book, and I didn't hate it by any means. I just, it absolutely did not live up to my expectations, we'll say that. Question number 6 is biggest surprise. I read this book for my Reading Around the World challenge. If you guys don't know, I've been trying to read a book by an author from every country in the world. This is obviously going to take me a long time. It takes a lot of people several years to complete this challenge. I read Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin. I wasn't sure what I was gonna think about this. I knew a couple of my mutuals had read this and rated it pretty highly. I didn't really read the back. I kind of just bought it, picked it up, read it, and it's extremely short, but it follows a woman called Amanda. The book starts off in a hospital setting, and you kind of are unsure like who the narrator is and how these two people are connected. The main character kind of tells the story of why this woman is in the hospital. Fever Dream is a nightmare come to life, a ghost story for the real world, a love story, and a cautionary tale. Samantha Schweblin creates an aura of strange psychological menace and otherworldly reality in this absorbing, unsettling, taut novel. There's also a film adaptation on Netflix, or maybe it's a show. I think it's a film. And I watched part of it, but it was just not as good as the book, I don't think. So highly recommend this one. I was super surprised. And I actually picked up Little Eyes, which is another one of her novels, and I haven't read it yet. But if I read a book by an author and immediately want to read everything that they've written, I think that's a pretty good sign. Oh, question number 7. I don't have an answer for this one. I actually wrote NA. And that is a new favorite author. I don't think I have one. I really don't. And I think, like, I don't feel like I've read enough books by a specific author to, like, be able to assign that title to anyone. So we're just gonna skip that one. Question number 8 is newest favorite character. I thought really hard on this one. I didn't really have any standout characters, but then I was thinking like who I thought was like the cutest and whatever. So I landed on Moscap, which is the robot from the Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. I thought his character was really cute. I'm not gonna love Moscap, you know what I mean? I just think his character is really innocent and wholesome. A Psalm for the Wild Built is a really cozy story. I actually haven't finished the second book yet, but I'm currently reading it. It's really cozy. You follow a monk who stumbles across a robot, and the robots have not been seen for several thousands of years. I'm pretty sure it's either hundreds of years or thousands of years. And so the monk stumbles across Moscap and they kind of go on this journey together. It's really sweet, really cozy. I didn't connect with it as much as I thought I was going to, but nonetheless, it's very enjoyable. And Moscap is for sure my new favorite character of the year. Book number 9 is a book that made me cry. This one I don't have physically, but I'll have to say it's the only book that's made me cry this year, and that is The Bright Years by Sarah DeMoff. I was not sure how I was gonna respond to this book. It's one of the most hyped books of the year, I think. I can't remember, did this come out in 2025? I think it did. All of YouTube was talking about it, and I was like, I have to freaking pick this book up. And I did, and I was very impressed by it. I thought it was a great time. Great storytelling, and I actually have The Burning Side by Sarah DeMoff from Book of the Month. The Bright Years definitely made me cry. It is a family saga of sorts. It sounds quite simple on paper, but it's so much more. You're following this couple, kind of how they met, and then their marriage, and then the issues that they're having, and then you end up following their daughter as well, and how her parents' lives have affected hers, and there's just so much. And I do really want to buy this book to have and add to my collection because I did love it, and the ending made me cry. And when I say cry, I mean I had like some tears. I'm not a huge like crier when it comes to books. I don't I don't know, I'm not always like that affected by words on paper as I am if like I see it visually. It just can be really hard for me to picture things, but this one I definitely did cry. We've got just 3 more questions here. Question number 10 is a book that made me happy. Oh, this one was really fun. I read a graphic novel that I had on hold with the library for a really long time, and that is Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees by Patrick Horvath, sorry. This one was a really, really fun time. You follow a bear who is a serial killer, and she lives in this really small town, and there's kind of like a rival serial killer in the town, and so you're following her trying to figure out who it is and like kind of bust them so that she can get back to being a serial killer. I read it in one sitting. It was really short and I had a great time. That was like another character I was considering for favorite character of the year. I think her name was Samantha Brown or something like that. Her character was really fun too, and yeah, overall really like disturbing artwork, but I thought it was fantastic. And I would be okay owning that one too. I just love a good graphic novel, especially like a horror graphic novel. I've read like Junji Ito, which is like horror manga, but other than that, I've not read a lot of horror graphic novels. So that was really fun for me to get into. Question number 11, this is the second to last question. So sad. Most beautiful book you've purchased this year. I don't think any of these would be classified as like the prettiest books I own, but this one is like the prettiest one I bought at least this year, and that is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I just think everything about this edition is like pretty stunning, and it looks so good next to the rest of my TJR books. This is for sure one of my favorite authors ever, like ever, probably my top author, and I have been meaning to reread her first 3 books in the Hollywood series, and then I will move on to Carrie Soto and Atmosphere. I've not read these 2 yet, which is criminal, but I don't want her books to be like all read, you know what I mean? I waited long enough for Carrie Soto to like buy it in paperback, and then I was like, well, I need to wait till Atmosphere comes out in paperback. So now I have them all, and Seven Husbands is like slightly taller than the rest of them, but we're not gonna talk about that. Question number 12, the last question is books I need to read by the end of the year. Now I had a couple written down, and my thought process was, okay, I need to pick the oldest book on my TBR that needs to be read this year. And then the other 2 are kind of random. I think what I'm gonna do instead is, this is my entire physical TBR. It does not have any of the newer purchases. I don't think it's super updated, but I've got pretty much my entire physical TBR in this little bag, and I think what I'm gonna do is pick 3 slips from here, and these are the books I'm gonna need to read by the end of the year. I will say, This Is How You Lose the Time War needs to be read by the end of this year for sure. This is the oldest book on my physical TBR. I don't know why I haven't read it yet. I feel like it's never the right time. I don't read a lot of sci-fi, so I think I'm nervous. I wanna make sure I'm like really present when I'm reading it. Anyway, let's just pick 3 slips out of this, 2 or 3. Book number 1. I don't know if that's upside down. Oh, good one. Okay, this is The Kite Runner. Let me take this down. The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. This I've intended to read for my Reading Around the World challenge, and actually I think this one would be a really good fall or winter read. This is also just like a modern classic that I think everyone has heard of. But this is historical fiction, which is a little bit out of my comfort zone. So I think this is actually a really good selection. Let me put This Is How You Lose the Time War here as well. Okay, we've got the books there. Let's pick 2 more. This is fun. I don't really do the TBR videos anymore because that's challenging, but we've got 6 months left to read 4 books, so. Oh, good one. Okay, this is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. Oh my gosh, I've had this on my TBR since January of 2025. So this has been on my TBR for over a year, and this also would be a really great winter read, so I'm really excited about this. Okay, we've got a good stack going. Please don't fall. All right, let's pick 1 more, shall we? I think this is a fun way to do things. Okay, last one. I can't see what that says. Sunburn. Fantastic, you guys. Fantastic. I need to move this over just a tad. We've got Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Howarth. This is all the rage right now. I think this would be a great read for August. Okay, wait, maybe we'll do this. Since it's July right now, we've got August, maybe September, October, November or December, probably December. And then let's pick one more for November, shall we? This is fun. Sorry, I'm having too much fun with this. What is this? Oh, I Want to Die, but I Want to Eat Spooky. Okay, well, I'm reading that right now, so maybe I'll just count that as my book for July. And then we'll have a book for like the last 6 months of the year. You know what I'm saying? I think that's good. One book a month from my physical TBR. I like that. Okay, so that'd be my book for July because I'm reading it right now and I'm almost done. Ooh, The Burning Side. Okay, I just talked about this. Oh my god, a lot of these books came from my like top shelves. The Burning Side by Sarah DeMoss. This would also be good. So, wait, let me see. Okay, maybe I do August, September, maybe like October, November, December. I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but these are the 5 books I need to read before the end of the year. I like how I did that. That's fun. Good way to utilize my little slips because I'm not doing TBR videos anymore. I just never really read that many books, but like picking 6 books or 5 books for like the last 6 months of the year is very doable. And I'm really happy with that. Okay, you guys, that is all I had for you today. I had so much fun filming this video and it was very fun to go over some of the books I've read this year. I didn't do this last year, but I will this year, I think, at the very end of the year, like in December or January, do like an overall book tag of like every single book I've read from the year, or I don't know. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys very much, and I will see you when I see ya.